The first time Sophie Bennett saw Adrian Cross, he was standing in front of the 23rd floor window of Cross Enterprises, the New York skyline glowing behind him like it was painted there just for him. She hadn't meant to stare, but there was something about him. His presence filled the room before he said a word. The cut of his charcoal suit, the sharpness in his eyes, the quiet way he commanded every inch of space around him. It was her first day as his new executive assistant, a role she'd fought for, knowing it could make or break her career. "Miss Bennett," he said, turning from the window. His voice was smooth, even, controlled. "Yes, Mr. Cross," she said, trying to sound composed. "I hope you're as capable as your resume suggests." "I intend to exceed expectations," she replied. For a second, something flickered in his expression, not amusement exactly, but curiosity. He nodded. "We'll see." That was how it began, with a challenge. Adrian Cross wasn't an ordinary CEO. He'd taken over his family's billion-dollar conglomerate after his father's sudden death. At 34, he was already a legend in business circles, decisive, brilliant, ruthless. But there was something else beneath that reputation, something no one talked about. The loneliness of power, the weight of expectation, the way his life was designed around control, and how Sophie's presence began to chip away at it. She was efficient, sharp, and unafraid to speak up when others wouldn't. She didn't flatter him. She didn't try to impress him. And that was exactly why he couldn't stop thinking about her. He caught himself watching her sometimes, the way she pushed a strand of hair behind her ear when she was focused, the soft determination in her voice during meetings. He knew better. She was his employee, his assistant. Off limits. But rules had a way of burning when the right spark touched them. 2 weeks later, Sophie was organizing reports in his office late one evening when he returned from a dinner meeting. The city was quiet outside, the only sound the hum of rain against the glass. "You're still here," he said, setting his coat down. "I wanted to finish the quarterly summaries," she replied without looking up. He stepped closer, resting his hand on the back of the chair opposite her. "You don't need to prove yourself this hard." She finally met his eyes. "I'm not proving anything. I just like doing things right." He studied her, the honesty in her tone, the steadiness. "You remind me of someone," he said softly. "Who?" "Myself," he admitted. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air felt charged, as though the rain itself had slowed to listen. "I should get going," she said, standing abruptly. He moved aside, but their shoulders brushed as she passed. The contact was brief, barely a second, yet it sent a current through both of them. She turned at the door. "Good night, Mr. Cross." His jaw tightened slightly. "Good night, Sophie." It was the first time he'd said her name aloud. Over the following months, their connection deepened in ways neither acknowledged. Shared glances during long meetings. Subtle smiles in passing. Coffee breaks that lingered a little too long. But every time the air between them grew heavy, one of them would pull back, both knowing what was at stake. Until one day, the line blurred completely. They were attending a charity gala hosted by the company. Sophie wore a sleek black gown, her hair in soft curls. Adrian had seen her in countless settings, efficient, composed, professional, but never like this. When she entered the ballroom, he forgot how to breathe. "Mr. Cross," she greeted, offering a polite smile. He leaned closer, his voice low. "You look remarkable." "Thank you, sir," she said, though her voice faltered slightly. The words sent an ache through him he couldn't explain. Throughout the evening, they maintained their distance, CEO and assistant, playing their parts. But every time she laughed or brushed past him, his restraint cracked a little more. Later that night, he found her on the balcony, away from the noise. The city stretched below them, glittering under the moonlight. "You don't like crowds," he said quietly. "Not when they're full of people pretending to care," she said. He smiled faintly. "You see through things easily." "I have to," she said. "It's how I survive." Something in her tone made him pause. "What are you surviving, Sophie?" She hesitated. "Starting over. I left my old job because I was tired of being invisible. Tired of helping people who never saw me. He stepped closer, his voice softening. I see you. She looked up, eyes wide. The words hung between them, fragile and dangerous. You shouldn't say that, she whispered. I know. But he didn't move away. The rain began again, light and steady, misting the air around them. He reached out, slowly, as if asking permission, and brushed a raindrop from her cheek. Sophie. Adrian, she breathed, his name escaping before she could stop it. The sound of it undid him. For a long moment, they stood there, so close their heartbeats seemed to echo together, but neither crossed the line. Instead, he lowered his hand, eyes burning with everything he couldn't say. Good night, Sophie. She nodded, turning before the fire between them consumed them both. The next morning, she handed in her resignation. I can't work here anymore, she said quietly. It's not professional to feel something, he interrupted. She swallowed hard. To pretend it isn't there. He looked at her for a long time, every instinct in him screaming to stop her. But he'd built his life on control, and letting her go was the only way to keep from destroying both of them. Thank you for everything, he said finally. You've been extraordinary. When she left his office, the silence that followed felt heavier than any deal he'd ever lost. 3 months passed. Adrian buried himself in work, in meetings, in anything that kept him from thinking about her. But success felt hollow. The empire he'd built didn't matter when the one person who made him feel alive wasn't there to see it. Then one morning, his assistant buzzed his office. Mr. Cross, there's someone here to see you. Says it's personal. When Sophie stepped through the door, he thought he was dreaming. I shouldn't have come, she said, clutching a folder. But the new firm I joined is bidding for the community project your company's funding. I thought I should tell you directly. He smiled faintly. Always professional. She exhaled. Adrian. Don't, he said softly. If I hear my name again from you, I might forget every rule I live by. She laughed quietly, tears threatening. Maybe some rules are meant to be broken. He stood, crossing the space between them in 2 steps. You think I haven't tried to forget you? Have you? She whispered. No. The word left his lips like a confession. For once, he didn't hold back. He cupped her face gently, his forehead resting against hers. Sophie, I built this life so I'd never lose control. Then you walked in and ruined everything. Maybe you needed ruining, she said softly. He laughed, a sound that cracked open all the walls he'd built. They stood there, suspended in a moment that felt both forbidden and inevitable, a collision of everything they denied. I don't care about titles or contracts, he said. If this costs me everything, so be it. She looked up at him, eyes shining. You can't fire me this time. He smiled. I wouldn't dare.